Washington says a $61 billion aid package for Ukraine will be released as soon as it's approved by the Senate. US President Joe Biden has told Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky that a $61 billion military aid package will be released to Kyiv as soon as it's approved by the Senate. In a phone call a day after the package was approved by the House of Representatives, Biden assured Zelensky that US economic assistance would help maintain financial stability and rebuild critical infrastructure. Zelensky, who was meeting members of Congress in the capital, Kyiv, called the bill historic.
We spoke about that how we can rush after the decision getting package of military support. That is crucial for our soldiers on the battlefield.
Meanwhile, EU foreign and defence ministers meeting in Luxembourg agreed that Ukraine needs better air defences, but stopped short of committing to giving Patriot systems to the country. Representatives said they prefer to focus on the money they're spending to assist Ukraine.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm sorry, but they don't have Patriots here in Brussels. The Patriots are in the capitals, and it's up to them to take the decisions. I want to insist that a launcher without interceptor is useless, and certainly interceptors without launchers are also useless. So we need both things.
So far, only Germany has given a single Patriot missile battery to Ukraine, something the country says it desperately needs to help fend off Russian airstrikes.
Welcome to the press conference.
The European Union has reached an agreement to expand sanctions on Iran. Foreign ministers gave the green light to tougher restrictions, but not against Tehran's powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard. The new measures limit the export of components used to build drones and missiles, and blacklist people and entities involved in production of those weapons. They also cover Iran's backers in the region, including the Houthis in Yemen and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The move comes after Tehran's first ever drone and missile attack on Israel 10 days ago. EU leaders say they support the people of Israel, but have been calling for a de-escalation of the country's war with Hamas in Gaza. The EU has already imposed sanctions on Iran over its supply of drones to Russia, human rights violations, and attempts to establish a nuclear program. European Union foreign affairs and defence ministers say the trajectory of the war in Ukraine is headed the wrong way. Meeting in Luxembourg, they're putting pressure on Spain, the Netherlands, Italy, Greece and Romania, all countries known to have Patriot air defence systems in storage and unused. Some leaders have resisted sending weapons to Kiev for fear of escalating the 2-year-long war with Russia and to protect their own country's security.
The truth is that it's been our self-restraint that has triggered the escalation. Putin smells fear and he smells the fact that we're afraid. And, what does a fighter on a ring do when he smells that his adversary is scared? He doubles down, and that's exactly what is happening. So on the one hand, I think, conceptually even and psychologically, it's an argument that doesn't hold much water. And the evidence shows that, as I said, our self-restraint is exactly what has triggered an escalation.
Last week, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky chastised countries withholding stocks of defence systems. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell says Russian military attacks on Ukraine are intensifying and is urging member states to do what they can to help defend the country.
The figures are really appalling. The way Russia is attacking Ukraine, on missiles, on drones, and on guided bombs. Just on guided bombs, the Ukrainians has reported 7,000 in 4 months, which is about 16 guided bombs a day. And this is a constant shelling in the east, is part of the Putin's strategy. On the other hand, it's clear that Ukraine lacks weapons to self-defense and to reject the Russia aggression.
It's not clear how many air defence systems are available in the EU. President Zelensky is asking for 7 to protect the main cities against Russian airstrikes. European Parliament President Roberta Metsola has spoken to Euronews, saying she's ready to waive immunity of MEPs allegedly involved in the Russian influence scandal. EU politicians are accused of being paid to spread pro-Russian propaganda. Metsola says she needs more information, including names.
We continue to wait for information to be received from national authorities because this would require any waiver of immunity being adopted by this House. Investigations that would need to take place, like had happened in the past, that would require national authorities to ask. We're waiting for that, and when that happens, we will do our job as we've always done.
It's not the only scandal to mar the current term. The European Parliament's Vice President is one of the main suspects in the Qatar Cash for Favours scheme. She faces charges including corruption and money laundering. She was suspended from her role in December 2022.
We had a choice that day. Either we say that this is something that would happen in any parliament, or that we look at the party political colour, or that we look at the country involved, but I refused to do that. I said, this House needs to move on. This House needs to make sure that if something like this had to happen again, then firewalls would be put in place and alarm bells would be sounded. It took a very long time, both to go through the motions of what needed to be done.
The final plenary session is being held this week before the European elections in June.
Now you have a choice. You either decide who you want to sit in these chairs, or you let others decide for you.
Citizens of EU member countries will head to the polls to elect 720 politicians to the European Parliament between June 6 and June 9. Germany's Party of European Socialists lead EU elections candidate Nicola Schmidt is in Berlin for talks with the Social Democratic Party's candidate Katharina Barley. Schmidt says he wants to strengthen democracy in Europe from the inside out.
Ja, diese Wahl, jede Wahl ist wichtig, aber wenn wir uns herum schauen und den allgemeinen Kontext mal sehen, dann ist diese Wahl schon eine sehr bedeutende Wahl. Eine Art von Richtungsentscheidung, eine Richtungswahl, nicht nur international gesehen, sondern auch intern, wo Europa eigentlich hingehen soll.
After much debate in Germany, people from 16 years of age will be allowed to vote in the June elections and have their say on who will lead the European Union for the next 5 years.
Approximately half of the EU menstruates or will do at some point of their lives, but that does not mean access to menstrual products is guaranteed. There is no official EU data on how many women suffer menstrual poverty, but Belgian NGO Bruxelles believes that in Belgium, 1 in 15 people cannot buy their choice of product.
À un moment, on doit faire un choix entre un produit de première nécessité et l'achat de produits menstruels. Donc à un moment donné, on doit choisir soit, par exemple, entre manger ou acheter un produit menstruel. Quand on en arrive à ce constat-là, c'est qu'on est vraiment dans le cadre de la précarité menstruelle. Nous, on ajoute aussi 2 variantes qui viennent vraiment plus encore aggraver cette situation, qui sont le manque d'informations menstruelles, mais aussi le manque de lieux sécurisés et bien adaptés pour pouvoir se changer en toute sécurité.
Since 2022, the EU allows member states to sell menstrual products without VAT. For now, Ireland is the only one doing so. Most of them have reduced taxes between 5 to 10%, but others remain high, like Hungary at 27% or Sweden and Denmark both at 25%. One of the options to alleviate the cost of menstrual products is using reusable ones. Catalonia recently started giving out a menstrual cup, a pad or a pair of period underwear to fight menstrual poverty.
Menstruation still has lots of taboos, stigma and silences in society. This is why this is a universal action. We need to change the way society has been dealing with menstruation as a private issue, as something that it's not spoken about, because these myths, these stigmas have also implications on women's health and well-being.
According to the Catalan government, 23% of women in the region are reusing single-use products and 44% can't afford their first choice. Germany's Interior Ministry says 3 people have been arrested for allegedly spying for China. Prosecutors said the German nationals were suspected of arranging the transfer of information on technology with potential military uses to Beijing.
Die Ermittlungen werden zeigen, ob und welcher Schaden bereits eingetreten ist. Wie gesagt, wir warnen und wir sensibilisieren sehr deutlich, was diese Gefahren angeht. Das tut insbesondere das Bundesamt für Verfassungsschutz, auch in sehr vielen Veranstaltungen, in sehr vielen Gesprächen, auch mit der Wirtschaft, mit der Wissenschaft, weil genau diese Risiken des Know-how-Abflusses, der Ausforschung und Spionage in den Bereichen bestehen. Da besteht ein besonderes Interesse an Innovationen aus Deutschland und in dem Bereich, wo es dann auch noch militärische Innovationen, Rüstungsgüter, Dual Use möglicherweise betrifft, wie in diesem Fall, ist es eben nochmal besonders sensibel.
Monday's arrest followed last week's detention of 2 German-Russian men on suspicion of espionage. One was accused by prosecutors of agreeing to carry out attacks on potential targets, including US military facilities, to sabotage aid for Ukraine.